This is what you need to do in order to become a journeyman lineman. Is step one, go to a lineman school, Northwest Lineman College, or whatever school you want to go to. If that's something you think is going to help you, which it can and it will, as far as education goes, it'll be great. A lineman school, then you apply, you look for lineman apprenticeships, whether that is with the utility or the outside lineman apprenticeship world. You become a lineman apprentice. That time frame can be anywhere from a couple months to a couple years. Don't have the expectations that you will just be able to apply and get in really quick. That happens for a very, very, very small, minute percentage amount of people. And then the fourth thing is obviously once you get into that lineman apprenticeship and you complete that apprenticeship, usually going to take 3, 4, 5, 6 years, depending on what apprenticeship. Utilities typically take longer than the outside. That is the 4 steps. Hello and welcome back to another episode of CTQ. CTQ is a segment I do on the channel called Cruise the Questions, and this is where I take your guys' questions that you guys submit to me via email or in the YouTube comments down below, or if you guys message me on Instagram or TikTok at Collar Edu, I'll take those questions and I'll answer them here to try to help you guys on your blue collar career pathways. My name's Austin. I am the host, the whatever you want to call it, of this podcast, video, channel, doesn't really matter. I'm a journeyman lineman by trade. I went through an IBW lineman apprenticeship in the Northwest from the years of 2017 to 2020. So I've almost been in the lineman trade for almost 10 years. And previously, before that, I did power line tree treatment clearance. I worked at a welding fab shop, and while I was in high school, I worked at a mechanic shop. So really, the trades are the only thing I know when it comes to working and having a career and making money has been the trades. So Blue Collar Edu, I'm here to expose, teach, educate you guys about blue collar career opportunities, how to get started in the skilled trades. And CTQ is one of the better ways I'm able to do that, is to directly help some of you guys who have questions regarding getting started in a trade, whether that be the lineman trade or pipe fitter or iron worker or whatever the case may be. I'm here to try to help you guys on whatever pathway you are trying to explore. So with all that being said, I'm going to quit blabbing and let's hop into some of these questions. Question number 1 is coming from a guy named Chase. He says, "Hi Austin, I've been watching your YouTube Blue Collar Edu channel for quite some time now to learn about the lineman trade. I'm married with 2 kids and a third on the way. My wife doesn't work. My background is 9 years in the Air Force, specifically the California Air National Guard. I'm an E5/staff sergeant, and my job is a special missions aviator, a fancy term for flight engineer/gunner/hoist operator, all in one, on HH-60 helicopters. My main mission set was combat search and rescue, but also worked in civil search and rescue, CAL FIRE, medevac aid, wildland firefighting, dropping water on fire, and state counter-drug operations. I've been on 2 combat deployments and was promoted to instructor. I'm transitioning out of the active duty military in the next month and completely out of the California National Guard in May and want to get into the lineman trade. I've specifically been looking at PG&E since I live north of Sacramento and want to know the best way to get in. From what I've read and seen, I understand that to be the best way, Northwest Lineman College to PG&E, electric lining apprentice or electric utility worker, lineman apprentice, journeyman lineman. I have the GI Bill and VA NRNE paid to help me with any schooling or cost to get into a job. Please let me know what your thoughts are, what you suggest I do get into the trade, and if that's a career path that's somewhat reliable and obtainable. Thanks for your time." Well, first off, Chase, you got quite the resume. Thank you for your service, dude. Air Force, that's super cool, man. That is quite impressive. You have a very good resume. You have a very good list of experience you've done so far. Didn't say how old you were, doesn't really matter, but congratulations on the two kids and another on the way, and your wife is a stay-at-home mom slash wife, that's awesome that you're able to make that work. Because I think there's no more important thing to do than to be able to have one of the parents of the children, the wife or the mom or the dad or the father, to be able to stay home to raise the children. So I applaud you for that. Not a lot of people have that opportunity. I'm thankful, grateful I'm able to do that with the trade being a journeyman lineman. I'm able to provide, so my wife does not have to work. She's able to stay at home and raise the family. So anyways, with all that being said, kind of on a little bit of a tangent there, I think for you, if you are already thinking about going to Northwest Lineman College, which there's one up there in Oroville, California, that is extremely popular, you do have that GI Bill. And I would not 100% recommend, but I don't think it's a bad idea for guys like you to use that GI Bill to go to school, because you've served, because you've spent the time in the military. Uncle Sam is already paying for that schooling with that GI Bill. I think it's there for you to use. And if you think the lineman trade is the trade that you want to pursue, and you are willing to, and you want to use that GI Bill towards furthering your education, then I think it's a good opportunity for you to invest or use that GI Bill money towards going to Northwest Lineman College. And the reason I say this for you is because California is one of those places, one of those states that basically requires you to have NLC or any other accredited lineman school under your belt to really even have a chance to get a job anywhere. Now, you say you want to specifically been looking at PG&E since you live north of Sacramento. It's one of those things they're going to look for, okay? Now, it doesn't matter what I think personally, because I'm not in the PG&E hiring realm of people in the office, so I have no idea what they're looking for. But I do know that having that lineman school, NLC specifically, is going to be a good notch in your belt on top of your experience in the Air Force and everything you've done with your time there. I think that combined with lineman school is a great resume to have to put in your application. Whether that's PG&E, or if you think it could be beneficial for you to look into get into the Cal Nev outside lineman apprenticeship, which I think their applications will open come beginning of March sometime. But specifically, if you are trying to work for PG&E, I think it's probably your best bet to go to NLC. That's just from what I've heard, little rumors. Correct me if I'm wrong if you work at PG&E, or if you know and you work for a utility, a big utility like that, if that's something that the hiring people are looking for, regardless of the experience you have before, right? Like if you have military experience, or maybe you worked as a groundman, lineman, a groundman for a different utility or somewhere else, if lineman school is something that people in the utility realm look for. Because I don't know that exact answer, but from my understanding, California is one of those places that they are going to be looking for that. But you do have your steps, and you understand this to be the best way. NLC. Now, PG, electric line apprentice or electric utility worker. Now, yes, that is the goal, but I will let you know right now, it's not as easy as just applying and getting that apprentice opportunity. Okay, I don't know how much PG&E hires a year as far as apprentices go, or pre-apprentices, or groundmen. I don't know what their hiring status looks like. So that is too hard for me to tell you, oh yeah, like you can just, apply and get a job. That's not typically how it works in this trade. There's, of course, that hiring process is going to take a lot longer, because they are going to offer out, let's say, 10 apprentice positions. And out of those 10, you're going to have thousands or hundreds of people apply for that position. and it's going to take a lot of time. But you're thinking on the right track here. You go to NLC, you apply for an apprenticeship, whether that's with SoCal Edison, whether that's with PG&E, whether that's with CalNev, whether that's with an outside lineman apprenticeship like Mountain States or SWOLCAT or the Northwest. That is the next step after completing a lineman school. Granted, you have your Class A CDL and some other certifications that you should or hopefully get within going to that lineman school. Become an alignment apprentice, and then ultimately complete that apprenticeship and become a journeyman lineman. Those are the steps. You have those steps correct. It's the 4 steps that a lot of people look at and kind of come to a generalization understanding of what you need to do in order to become a journeyman lineman. Is step 1, go to a lineman school, Northwest Lineman College, or whatever school you want to go to. If that's something you think is going to help you, which it can and it will, as far as education goes, it'll be great. A lineman school, then you apply, you look for lineman apprenticeships, whether that is with the utility or the outside lineman apprenticeship world. You become a lineman apprentice. That time frame can be anywhere from a couple months to a couple years. Don't have the expectations that you will just be able to apply and get in really quick. That happens for a very, very, very small, minute percentage amount of people. And then the 4th thing is obviously once you get into that lineman apprenticeship and you complete that apprenticeship, usually going to take 3, 4, 5, 6 years, depending on what apprenticeship. Utilities typically take longer than the outside. That is the 4 steps to become a journeyman lineman. So you're on the right track there. You're thinking correctly. My thoughts for you to suggest to do is to ultimately just go to lineman school, use that GI Bill. I think you just go to NLC, make sure you have your Class A CDL. You go through, I think they have, I would assume they offer the opportunity to get your Class A CDL unless you have it already. And then if PG&E has openings for apprentices applications when it comes time for you to apply for apprenticeships and things of that sort, then yes, absolutely, you apply. And then it just becomes a waiting game and you follow the steps, the order of operations, whatever that is. I don't know if PG&E has a aptitude test and a physical test and then interviews. I don't really know what their hiring process looks like, but that's something that you would or could expect is a pretty lengthy hiring process as far as getting started on with a big utility like that. And if any of you guys work at a big utility and have this experience and knowledge, please let me know in the comment section below for others too that can learn that what it takes to get started at a big utility like that. All right, let's hop into another question. This question is coming from Brandon. Hey Austin, my name is Brandon. I am a first-year lineman apprentice working for a contractor in the Baltimore, Maryland area doing overhead distribution and just hit my first 1,000 hours a few weeks ago. I made a comment on one of your videos asking for information that could help me learn more about my trade. I'm learning a lot on the job, but because I'm not in a union or the most structured / bigger company, I'm not getting the quote classroom unquote time I'm looking for to get concrete information about the trade that will be helpful when I move on to a power company or somewhere else. I don't want to knock my employer or the experience I'm getting, but I'm craving more knowledge, electrical theory, blueprint reading, and even learning more about the different types of wires and materials we use every day. Upon joining my current employer, his goal for me was to get me prepared to join a power company within a year, which isn't until February, but feel it's fast approaching and want to learn as much as possible before then. Recently, I've been a job posting for Amtrak, hiring people like myself with little to no experience and would appreciate any advice for someone like myself. It seems to be a niche field in this line of work and can't find any information on what a day in the life looks like for them compared to the distribution field I'm currently in. At a glance, it seems like something I would be interested in and could be a good next step for me. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. And then basically just goes on to thank me for the channel and helping him discover this trade and what this trade has opened his eyes to things like Hurricane Helene and what the linemen have done and etc. So, Brandon, to let you know that the whole Amtrak thing is, I've never worked on the Amtrak, but that's just the railroad. Most people probably know what the Amtrak is, but it's for the train system for bringing people, to and from different cities or different parts of the city. They just need, there is DC lines that run, that operate, that make the Amtrak operate, right? And so they need linemen or apprentices or whatever you want to call them to help build those DC lines. Okay, I've never personally done it. I know there was a lot of work happening like that up in Washington when I was working up there, and there was a few linemen that were doing it, and they were working like a crazy amount of hours, like 612s, in per diem and this and that, because they really, really needed guys to do it. But it's not the most, I think, interesting work to do, and that's why that's why they're offering such good pay and per diem, because not a lot of people want to do it because it's just not like that fun. But I personally have never done it. So would it be good to experience for you to look at it or try it out? I think yes, it is. It would be good experience. But also, this is what I would recommend for you to do as well, Brandon. And I don't know if you are down to travel, but I would look into the NEAT, the Northeast Apprenticeship Training Apprenticeship, because I think that with your experience so far with overhead distribution, you have 1,000 hours of overhead distribution, even though it's non-union. I don't think it would be a bad idea to look into getting into the NEAT apprenticeship. Okay, the NEAT, like I said, is the Northeast, covering New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont, New York, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, I believe. And maybe Rhode Island, and maybe a couple other states. I don't know if Maryland is part of that or not. But either way, if you are down to travel in any one of those states, I personally would tell you should apply for that union apprenticeship. Now, with some experience, I think you have a pretty good opportunity that you could apply for that, pass the IBW aptitude test, go do the interview, and I think that you would have a pretty good chance in getting in that apprenticeship if you are craving that classroom time, looking for concrete information and to learn more about the trade, whether that's the electrical theory or the different materials and things like that. The IBW apprenticeship, and this is why I think these apprenticeships are top notch, is because we have that classroom training. We have to get 16 hours of in-class learning, in-class training, where we learn the books. And I think that is extreme benefit, especially for this trade, for those that, we need to learn about electrical theory, about Ohm's law, about Power's law, about these different equipment we use in the lineman trade, capacitors, regulators, different transformers. We're doing transformer hookups, three-phase, open and closed transformer banks, all these different things, and that's just a very small part of it, all these different things about the lineman trade. Now, that's what I would tell you to do, but if you want to invest in a little bit of learning, and you want to buy a book that is really, really, really handy for this type of stuff, I would suggest you look into getting the guidebook for linemen and cablemen. Now, this book is in partnership with the NJATC, which is the National Joint Apprenticeship Training Committee, which that is where the union alignment apprenticeships are through the NJATC. And this is the book that we get. This is kind of like, I don't want to compare it to the Bible, but it's kind of like a Bible for the lineman trade. Now, you're going to learn a whole lot of stuff. This book has everything that you want to know about the lineman trade. It's in this book. So if you're wanting to look for rigging or working hot or three-phase circuits, awareness in electrical environment, construction overhead power lines, constructing underground power lines, working with conductors and cables, operating switchgear, circuit protection, installing personal protective grounds, the purpose of transformers, essential for linemen, electrical power, system overview, working in substations, alternating current. This book has a whole lot of good information. So if you want to, and if you're craving to learn more about the lineman trade and the books about it, I would say invest in that book. I don't even know how much it costs. I got it for free because that's one of the books we got in the IBW Union Lineman Apprenticeship. That's one book of many books that we got. So that is one thing I could also suggest to you to be able to learn more about the trade, the ins and outs, and the technical parts about the trade. And I personally would tell you to also apply for the NEET apprenticeship or ALBAT if you are down to travel. I don't think that you should discount the fact that you already have 1,000 hours of working. And if you are craving and you want to learn more about the lineman trade, I think it's very important that you look into investing in an IBW Union Lineman Apprenticeship. And I think that's the advice I would give you. Amtrak, like I said, if you're looking for something different, you want to learn more, you could try to get on there and try that out. But I think your focus should be on looking for a union apprenticeship because you have a great mindset. And that's something that I would appreciate, having an apprentice who wants to learn more about the trade, wants to have more structured training program like a union apprenticeship is very important. You want the classroom learning. You're craving to learn more about this trade, the bookwork. Look for a union lineman apprenticeship. And that's what I could suggest to you, Brandon. All right, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode of CTQ with Blue Collar Edu. I'm here to expose, teach, educate you guys about blue collar career opportunities, how to get started in skilled trades. A couple questions for you guys, just so maybe you can learn a little bit more about the lineman trade. If you guys have any questions, please email them to austin@bluecollaredu.com or put them in the comments down below. Or if you find me on Instagram or TikTok, you can go ahead and ask questions there as well. With all that being said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you want to. I'm not forcing you to, but if you like learning more and you like hearing more and you like this education, hit that stuff. Hit those buttons. And I'll catch you guys on the next video.